Thank you, Mr. Hamdani sir, and Mr. Sayyid Allahwala sir for arranging this session. And I am very pleased and very honored that I have given this opportunity. With me, I have brought my whole team of the Amnesty Group in Ferguson. The three partners are here: Zulfikar Akhtar, Raza, and Asif Harun. Because we believe that we will have so much work on this part of the assignment that we need more inclusive approach in Ferguson. I would like to concentrate on the foreign asset amnesty scheme, and I would like to specifically give a background how I see it on the political and the background side of this whole concept of offshore income and offshore assets and how things are moving. My personal study of the economics of the world revealed that the economic world which was made after the Second World War, that model is now changing. There was a kind of the world which was created after Second World War, and in that process, actually, if you look at the whole system, they had created the offshore and tax havens actually to protect to allow the Pakistanis and other developing countries' money to be located and parked in the Western society, and those tax havens like Cayman, Bahamas, Panama, Maldives, Mauritius, and they Malta, theoretically Cyprus. They were all places which were Gibraltar and things. They were all a part of the system by which the untaxed money, even including the corruption money of these developing countries, were being parked and utilized in the West. Secondly, they have also created another kind of the jurisdiction which were called tax-friendly jurisdiction, like Netherlands, like Singapore, like Maldives, which were not tax havens in that sense, but they were used as a conduit for investments by the Westerns in the Pakistani environment. For example, if the Lever brothers used to invest, they used to invest via Netherlands, not directly from England. So the Lever Brothers Pakistan company was not owned by UK; it was owned by BV company. Shell is through BV company, Omicron. So it was a structure, and there's no point in discussing that structure. But there was a structure in place, and that benefited those societies, rightly so, because the money doesn't stay at Cayman Island, the money doesn't stay at Bahamas, the money doesn't stay at Panama. The money goes to buy the houses in London, to buy the house in Paris, to buy houses in New York, to buy houses in Singapore. So Panama, Cayman, Bahamas, they are all non-livable countries. They were just paper states. So this mechanism was all well designed. It was nothing new. And rightly designed, or rightly or wrongly, however designed, what system was designed. But fortunately or unfortunately, either it happened by the course of the time, or whosoever did it, there was 9/11, and the flow of the funds was linked up with terrorism. So the money laundering and terrorism became like this. The money laundering and terrorism became one thing. So now I think the decision of the Western economist was that yes, we can receive the money, we can encourage the investment coming to the West, but now we have to also see whether that money is not from the wrong sources, and that money, which is that house which somebody has got in London, in the Mayfair, that house may be owned by Hafiz Saeed of Jamaat Dawa, and he may be training the English people, and those trainers may be bombing in the underground trains in London. So they are very concerned that who owns this house. through which company this house is owned. So it's a long drawn process how the things are unfolding. I think in that process the whole thing unfolded, and I think as the organized measure it has been decided that it was decided that there has to be some check. We had a feeling that this Panama leak, because we were doing the business in Pakistan, we were understanding how the Pakistani are arranging their monies, how the things are moving in Pakistan. We were all aware of some transactions, modus operandi of the Pakistan businesses. So when the Panama leak came out, and this whole system came out, so I wrote 7 or 8 articles, 8, 9, 10 articles in the Business Recorder, and after that and then I compiled that in the form of the book which is available here by the name of Panama Leak: A Blessing in Disguise. And when Panama Leak came out in 2016, I wrote this book and I said that this Panama Leak is a blessing in disguise for Pakistan. It was before 2016, before the Supreme Court case. And this book was launched sometime in 16. I think Zulfikar was a host in the ceremony. It was 16, and I said that this is a blessing in disguise for Pakistan, because we had a feeling that this Pandora box which has now been opened, it will unfold many things which we have been doing in the past. So this is the background of this thing. Now coming to the accumulation of the assets of the Pakistani outside Pakistan. If you may have heard my interview with the Dawn TV on the day of this amnesty scheme was announced, I said that it is very wrong to say that Pakistanis have transferred the assets outside Pakistan very recently. Pakistanis have been transferring their assets, or parking their assets outside Pakistan for a very long time, and there are political and there are social and there are cultural reasons for it. The first accumulation started in 47. Some people shifted their asset outside Pakistan in 47. That was a minor one. Then there was a very big migration of the asset of Pakistanis after the debacle of East Pakistan. A lot of West Pakistanis had assets in Bangladesh, and then they moved around their assets to the West, and they themselves came to West Pakistan. So a lot of assets, I know for many families who are Bangladesh origin, East Pakistan origin, they have reasonably, the money doesn't relate to this western side, it's all East Pakistani earned money. This is that East Pakistan money. Then 74, when Bhutto Sahib decided to nationalize the industry, there was deliberate intention of all the big families at that time, that they had decided that Pakistan is not a safe place for investment. And I think that I would say that wrong misperception has not been removed. Still, I don't see the real investment of the big families in Pakistan. Their stake is not in Pakistan. If you go deep down, how much stake they have in Pakistan, how much one person, I will put it very candidly, you take out one person, one family, how much stake in the tangible asset he has got in Pakistan? Can somebody say somebody has got more than 1 billion? No. Will be $300-400 million ज़्यादा का stake किसी का पाकिस्तान में नहीं है. So Pakistani ने assets पाकिस्तान में नहीं रखे बहुत. ये एक बड़ी अनफॉर्चुनेट बात है. आज कितनी फैमिलीज का क्या एसेट है, वर्थ है, किसकी वर्थ है? आज ही आपने केस पढ़ा होगा बैरियर टाउन का, उसमें एक कमेटी बना दी, उसमें मैं भी हूँ. उसमें कमेटी बना दी, जज ने मुझे बगैर मुझे डाल दिया कि आप वैल्यू करें. खैर वो ऑर्डर बड़ा अजीब सा ऑर्डर है. तो व्हाट आई एम सेइंग, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ एसेट पाकिस्तानीज हैव गॉट इन पाकिस्तान. सो दैट्स द सेकंड, नेशनलाइजेशन वाज द सेकंड पार्ट.